So it's important to understand that just because you followed the instructions that ChatGPT told you to go do, that may not be the result that you want to get. Hi, folks. Robert Starmer here, bringing you another episode of 5 Minutes of Cloud. Today, I want to talk about the thing that everybody's talking about, ChatGPT, of course. We are a company and a community, really, with you guys as well, that focuses on sort of the developer process, the infrastructure process, the how do I actually make these things work? And in doing that, ChatGPT can be an incredibly powerful ally, it turns out. For the most part, people are talking about how ChatGPT is going to take away the developer experience. It's going to, remove the need for even having developers working on these different services. Fantastic. That's, great clickbait titles and great way to get people worried about whether their jobs are real or not. But in reality, I think ChatGPT can be a very useful tool for accelerating infrastructure as code adoption. And really that comes down to leveraging this tool that, heck, in some countries they're even banning it. I understand there's a lot of fear around this, but I think it's better to look at how can we use this as an actual supportive tool and leverage that tool in an effective fashion. I don't really think that we need to worry about the future. I do think that people are the smart people are right. AI needs to be managed. We don't want to just let this thing sort of take over, but it isn't really breaking the system. We saw people worried about, early ChatGPT users basically destroying English classes because now you can just ask it to write you an essay. Well, if you ask it to write you an essay and the second person asks with the exact same prompt, you're going to get pretty much the exact same answer, which is really kind of interesting because there are enough differences in how we think and how we want to interact and how we personally, as our own intelligent beings, want to present material. Well, let's apply that to an area that's, I think, a little bit more interesting to all of us, which is how do we apply that to helping us manage our infrastructure and infrastructure as code? Well, the first thing we have to be aware of, and it says that even if you use the ChatGPT code AI .com, if we use that interface, it says right off the bat, hey, ChatGPT is not infallible. This tool is not an infallible answer and oracle to all questions. So it does still mean that we need to understand what it is we're doing and how it is interacting with our services. Also, it can tell us to do things that can be very destructive in our environments, right? So, hey, write this code, write it this way. It doesn't necessarily tell you that if you change your terraform code, it will destroy resources that no longer exist in that terraform code. So it's important to understand that just because you followed the instructions that ChatGPT told you to go do, that may not be the result that you want to get. So all of the normal development processes still apply. Test against a test infrastructure, validate that it's actually doing what you expect it to do, which means you do still need to understand. But the real benefit, from my perspective at least, is that a ChatGPT based service and any large language model, especially against a codex of your own code, is really useful for accelerating development processes, accelerating how you get to a workable infrastructure. I would say the sort of the penultimate version of this, or the ultimate version of this, is effectively what we're going to be doing in an upcoming webinar. There will be a link to the webinar in the description below, but our webinar is really going to focus on how you use ChatGPT for infrastructure. And I mean, the basic concept is an iterative process. You start with a model, a request to the system to say, I'd like to do X. Classic, simple one. I'd like to deploy an EC2 instance. How do I get that instance up and running? ChatGPT will give you an answer to that you can then leverage, but often it's not quite right. So it is actually still important to understand the target language. Maybe you picked Ansible, or maybe you picked Terraform, or you said, hey, I want to do this with Amazon's own CloudFormation tools. I'd like to use that as my code base for doing this. Whatever process you ask the system to produce, it will give you some code in that system, but that code may not be quite right. So there's often a need to sort of iterate and debug the code that ChatGPT provides you with. So we're going to go through all of that in our upcoming webinar, but the basic concepts are that this tool can help accelerate your process. And that's really where I see a huge benefit to ChatGPT. Sometimes it's hard to just get started. How do I structure the environment that I'm building into? How do I, get those basic pieces that work or almost work in order to get something started? That's really where, at least currently, I've seen ChatGPT be very successful and very useful. So if you haven't already, check out our webinar landing page and see if maybe this is an interesting project for you guys to join. And if not, stay tuned. We'll keep bringing you more information on how to leverage the new tools and technologies that really help you accelerate cloud and cloud infrastructure deployments in your own environments. We really look forward to having you here. If you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe. Leave a comment if you have a question or if you're interested in a different topic than what we've been covering. And of course, if you like this, click the thumbs up. Let me know. I'd love some feedback from you guys. There's plenty going on here. There's plenty of interesting technology that's out there that we really want to leverage to the best effect of all of our businesses. And ChatGPT is just one of those technologies. It really is the new hotness, but it does need to be used with an idea towards what you're trying to accomplish. And we still have to follow our processes. Let's not forget to do test. Test still is important in how we implement this. And don't forget, you can ask ChatGPT to help you write tests for your environment too. So it does become very meta, but it's also a very powerful tool. We look forward to having you join us again in the future, and stay well.